Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Shocking trade proposal sends Broncos $60 million WR to NFC East. The Denver Broncos have a star wide receiver, Courtland Sutton, who wants more money and has implied he might not be at training camp if his demands aren't met. The Broncos could rid themselves of this particular problem and get back some much-needed draft capital in a shocking trade proposal from Bleacher Report's Gary Davenport that would send Sutton and a 2026 sixth-round pick to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a 2025 conditional day 2 pick and a 2025 fifth-round pick. Sutton still has 2 years left on a 4-year, $60.8 million contract extension he signed in November 2021 that is scheduled to pay him $13.6 million in 2024 and $14 million in 2025. Sutton hasn't had over 1,000 receiving yards in a season since 2019, his only Pro Bowl season, and is the last Bronco to pass that mark for either rushing yards or receiving yards. The Dallas Cowboys are allegedly all in on the 2024 campaign, Davenport wrote in a June 14 story in which he acknowledges the unlikelihood of such a deal. But the team has some potentially glaring needs at running back and wide receiver that could prevent it from repeating as NFC East champions. Sutton would fill one of those needs, an upgraded WR2 opposite star CeeDee Lamb, he wrote. Given the team's questions at running back, the Dallas offense may have to lean on quarterback Dak Prescott and the passing game more than ever. In a contract year for Prescott in which quarterback salaries continue to climb. If the Broncos just want to tank the 2024 season and go for the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, then the move might be to trade Sutton as soon as possible, and almost certainly guarantee they have one of the NFL's worst records this season. That's because Sutton is the only reliable pass-catching option on the roster, something that might not matter with the trio of rookie Bo Nix, Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham vying to be the starting quarterback. Sutton is entering his 7th season in Denver after the Broncos drafted him in the 2nd round, number 40 overall, of the 2018 NFL Draft out of SMU, a stretch in which he's played with 10 different starting quarterbacks even though he's been able to have at least 50 receptions and 700 receiving yards in each of the last 3 seasons. In 2023, Sutton led Denver with 59 receptions for 772 receiving yards and a career-high 10 touchdowns. The market for NFL wide receivers has never been better in terms of the record paydays being handed out to stars, value that could only serve to help Sutton as he seeks more money. Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson reset the entire market for the position when he signed a 4-year, $140 million contract extension on June 3 that included $110 million in guaranteed money. Similar deals should be on the way for Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase and Lamb. In the months preceding Jefferson's record-setting contract, there were also massive contract extensions signed by Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown, 3 years, $96 million, and Detroit Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4 years, $120 million. NFL teams who changed QBs after a playoff berth. While retirements have impacted playoff-bound teams' quarterback situations, a host of clubs have sought an upgrade from a starter who was in place for a postseason appearance. Excluding retirements, here are the post-merger teams who changed starting QBs after qualifying for the previous year's playoffs. In what would be labeled poor roster management today, the Raiders kept Ken Stabler on the bench for 5 seasons. The future Hall of Famer, a 1968 second-round pick, sat behind Daryle Lamonica. The Mad Bomber had collected 2 AFL MVPs and made the Pro Bowl in 1970 and 72, fitting together an 18-to-12 TDINT ratio in the latter season. The Raiders benched Lamonica in the divisional playoff, a game better known for the immaculate reception sequence, and turned to Stabler to start the 73 season. Lamonica, 32 at this point, remained on the roster for 2 more years. His Raiders run cut into Stabler's. In an arc similar to Roger Staubach's, the Snake was only the Raiders' QB1 from 1973 to 79. On the subject of Staubach, the Cowboys backtracked on a 1971 decision that produced their first Super Bowl title. Staubach had overtaken Craig Morton during a season that had featured Tom Landry alternating QBs from game to game and, for a bit, play to play, but suffered a separated shoulder during the 1972 preseason. Morton stepped back in, and even after Staubach recovered, he kept the job going into the playoffs. Morton started all 14 Cowboys games in 1972, but after they fell behind in a divisional round 49ers matchup, Landry reinserted Staubach. After a 15-point second-half comeback, Staubach did not cede the reins again. The Cowboys traded Morton to the Giants in 1974. Dan Pastorini was at the controls for the Oilers teams that had revived the franchise, piloting Bum Phillips' club from the wild card round into back-to-back AFC championship games. The Steelers prevailed in both, and in an effort to shake up the AFC Central hierarchy, Houston swapped starting QBs with Oakland. The Raiders sent Ken Stabler to the Oilers straight up for Pastorini, the 1971 number 3 pick who had started 107 games with the team. A declining Stabler, at 35, threw a career-high 28 INTs in 1980. The Oilers still made the playoffs, but lost a one-sided wild-card game to the Raiders. A Pastorini injury had given way to Jim Plunkett by that point. Stabler lasted 2 years in Houston. Dallas Cowboys linked to former Green Bay Packers 5X All-Pro for Dak Prescott. The Dallas Cowboys are entering an important season that could very well determine the immediate future of their franchise. All-Pro wide receiver CeeDee Lamb was not at OTAs or mandatory minicamp as he awaits a new contract. While the Cowboys almost certainly want him signed for the long term, one has to wonder how the ongoing contract negotiations will affect his relationship with the organization. Franchise quarterback Dak Prescott, too, is up for a contract extension. Again, the Cowboys certainly would like to lock up the three-time Pro Bowler for the long term, but the quarterback market is going crazy right now. The Jacksonville Jaguars just gave Trevor Lawrence $55 million per season, so one has to assume that Prescott will command even more, perhaps becoming the first player to make $60+ million per year. Head coach Mike McCarthy, also, has some serious questions regarding his future with the Cowboys. After a 1-3 record in the NFL playoffs since his arrival, Dallas is not sure if he is the right man for the job going forward. He enters the 2024 NFL season as a lame duck head coach, needing a deep postseason run and/or a Super Bowl win to earn a second contract with the team. The Cowboys have some excellent players on offense, including Prescott and Lamb. In addition to these all-pro level players, they have brought in cooks at wide receiver, Jake Ferguson at tight end, and the legendary Zach Martin at right guard. However, they also lost some notable players to free agency as well. Left tackle Tryon Smith signed with the New York Jets. Currently, the Cowboys plan on replacing the future Hall of Fame left tackle with rookie Tyler Guyton. This is a tremendous risk for a team that, in essence, does not have a true primary running back. Ezekiel Elliott may be back, but McCarthy has stated they are going to utilize the running back by committee strategy, and may be about to give their quarterback the largest contract in the history of the NFL. Guyton could very well turn out to be a special player, but given the state of the Cowboys and the numerous questions surrounding their biggest names, it may be wise for Dallas to find some more experience on the offensive line to protect their investments. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of David Bakhtiari? Leave your opinion in the comments.